Okay, you're live.
Thank you. Welcome everybody to the final panel session for the symposium. I'm Jim McClellan. I'm the academic director for the Dun&Dish Queen's Innovation Center at Queen's University, and I'm also a professor in chemical engineering. I am very pleased to be moderating this panel, and I'm very excited about what you're going to hear. I think it's a very natural follow-on from all the various parts of the conference that we've heard today. You're going to see discussions that talk about integrating with ecosystems and really trying to sort of capture and make students aware of the possibilities of entrepreneurship and to develop entrepreneurial capacity. So the speakers that we have are very experienced in doing this. And so first we're going to hear from Dr. Sarah Lubick, and then we'll hear from Simon Fraser, and then we'll hear from Jane Somerville at District 3 in Concordia University in Montreal. And then we're going to hear from Dr. Gabriella Apiu from the Massachusetts General Hospital. So without further ado, Sarah, I'm going to hand the floor over to you.
Thank you so much, Jim. And I think I don't have control of the slides just yet. So I will start talking and hope that that changes. Oh, there we go. Oh, still not working. Oh, there we are. And literally there we are. Okay. So we are all familiar, anyone who works at a university is familiar with the bragging rights that come with university spinouts per university research dollar, venture capital, how much we've raised. There's been far less attention paid in the last little while, or for as long as I've been involved in this, to what happens at the early stage to bring these kind of things to fruition, and what the other spillovers are that give us a more thriving ecosystem. And so when I first started in entrepreneurship and innovation, tech transfer and university entrepreneurship were more or less synonymous, and we've started to see a change. And we've heard over the last 2 days the importance of changing our understanding of university entrepreneurship and scientific translation from only spin-out companies to a thriving ecosystem that starts much, much earlier. This community has been incredible and very interested in the last few years about changing this narrative away from only tech transfer, which is still important, don't get me wrong, but to those early stage, as Scott Stern talked about, entrepreneurial capabilities of a university. So Thomas Main et al. Have talked about scientist entrepreneurial capabilities and how PIs can create the conditions for entrepreneurial spin-out companies. We also seen scholars like Astробro talk about who do we actually want to bet on? Because some universities have PIs and scientists who are going to start spin-out companies, but we're not all MIT, and we're not all schools that have talked about how our PIs benefit and how their careers change depending on if they decide to be entrepreneurial or not. So work by Astrovode shows that in a lot of schools, it's a good idea to bet on your grad students. And then the question becomes, well, are we actually teaching them to do anything like that? And this also comes down to creating the right culture. So works by Goussame and Bonnet talk about how do you create, or in that case, how do you kill an entrepreneurial culture at a university? Because we all have these different contexts. And so these kind of programs that we're about to talk about are going to show why it's so important to invest and how to invest at that early end of the funnel, where before you can have a breakthrough science spin-out, first you need to be aware that you can even do this. And then once you're aware you can do it, have the support to take it forward and learn in a way that's actually constructive and pulls people into the funnel rather than making it a differentiation between science and business. Because a lot of us have to address things like a culture shift. I'll talk about the Eye-to-Eye program at SFU in a moment, and one of my favorite testimonials, which is not one that I've set up to talk about, was, you know, what really helped here is I no longer think that business is evil from a scientist. And so these are the kind of shifts that we need to be addressing with programming, but it often ends up with kind of unsung heroes of university tech transfer because they're doing work long before we're counting what they're doing. It's also important, and what you'll hear from this panel is the context in which these programs are developed, because it's worth having an honest conversation at our different universities of where we're actually sitting. And this is something that has been brought out in Scott Stern's talk and in many of the parallel sessions. We all have different university capabilities. Some are strong on research, some are strong on entrepreneurship, some are have rockstar scientists, and some don't reward rockstar scientists. And understanding exactly what it is that we can do and create and learning from others is a really important part of this panel. So we're so lucky to have these experts together. So it's important for us to realize that this lab to market, which has started to get the attention of policymakers, isn't just one challenge, but it's a number of challenges stacked upon each other. And they all need to be addressed holistically before we're going to have the solution that we want. So the program I'm here to talk about today is the Invention to Innovation Eye-to-Eye Commercialization Program at Simon Fraser University. It's been going for about 5 years now, and it's had a lot of shifts over time, but now it is going across Canada, so clearly doing something right. But even though it's a commercialization program, it didn't start with the idea that we're going to create spin-out companies. It started from a moral imperative, which was most grad students were not going to get an academic job. And if they weren't, then we were not setting them up for success unless we make sure they have those translational skills that will allow them to thrive in industry. With Invention and Innovation, I decided to take it back to basic entrepreneurial principles, which were match need to function, to explain why this program was developed how it was. So Invention and Innovation has been created with a deep understanding of the academic environment. The first need that we identified, or challenge that we might run into that we identified, was that principal investigators are often reluctant to have their students take time away from their lab work to learn commercialization skills. And so the program runs for 1 evening a week for a year. Say this is a commitment. It's not that big of a commitment. And over time, we saw increasingly not needing to emphasize this particular feature, because even PIs who said, well, I'm not sure, we'll see for a little while, and if they take up too much time, then they'll drop out of the program. What we saw instead was the same PI showing up because the program runs on Wednesdays, every Thursday morning to the lab saying, what did you learn today? Or what did you learn last night? So those things have changed over time. We knew that students needed a manageable course load, especially those who are transitioning from working on things like quantum computing into commercialization. So it runs on 8 half courses. The courses meet students where they are. Again, these are scientists and technologists, grad students, postdocs, and now faculty members. So we talk about things like lab to market, opportunity recognition, financial literacy, business models, and take them through that journey. But we also speak academic to them. So we've assembled a team who walk between worlds. So we've got faculty members who are in engineering or have degrees in both engineering and business. We have angel community members teaching finance who have invested in deep tech startups. We have embedded mentors who have actually gone through that journey. And we also ensured that it was a credentialed pathway, because we have to remember that these are also students in a lot of cases, and they do value having those credentials. And it also ladders into our Management of Technology MBA, because of course you want a path forward after that. The context is we are at SFU, and I wish we were welcoming you to SFU physically, but the things that you need to know about SFU are: we were born in the 1960s. We're known as the Radical Campus. We have an annual prize for controversy. So gathering up, we used to have protests. We still have protests at the university. And it's important for us to realize that this culture of coming together around challenges is something that we can use and that we can talk about when we're talking about this program, to say, not necessarily do you want to make money with what you're doing, but do you want a better way to make impact with your research? And so finding those things that unite us help us bring those people together from across worlds. So we started this with the idea that we were going to have students learning more translational skills. And what we found was we actually have 3 paths for the students out of this program. Some people go back into the lab and they become much better at doing translational research, and they become much better at getting translational research grants. So win-win there. We also find that students who transition into industry become champions in our ecosystem, and those people who can reach back from industry into the university, helping us create that entrepreneurial capacity in our ecosystem. And we do, of course, have science-based ventures come out of it. Although you do sometimes see students go in on one idea with their own research, find out you're never going to make any money on that, and then turn around and start a venture on something totally different. So definitely ventures, not always the ones you would expect. And the program has evolved over time. So while we started this program for grad students, it turns out that getting excited students is how you get faculty to do things as well. And so we started seeing a rise in interest in our faculty members, both from the business school and from other faculties coming to take the program as well. And now we have research chairs taking the program because it helps them open up new avenues and new ways to talk about their research. We have gone from credit to being able to choose between credit and pass-fail. And we're seeing a rise in diversity as well. So 40 to 50% of the people in the program are female, which, as we know from diversity in STEM, is pretty high. And we're also seeing people come in from not necessarily deep tech, but things related to and important to deep tech, such as gerontology or health sciences. And they become a rich part of that community. And we've also worked with the early stage incubator to embed mentors into that program to make sure that the students are meeting these mentors and knowing that there's someone who can help them to move forward into incubation should they choose to. So that has led to an expansion of the program at SFU with Western Economic Diversification as a partner in that. And we were happy to announce earlier today that Queen's University will also be a partner in the I2I program. And we've been this year expanded across Western Canada, now going on to the rest of Canada. So that is very exciting developments. But the most important and exciting thing is, what are the students saying about it? So Annette Feldman is a PhD scientist who went into stem cell technologies, which, as we know, is Canada's largest biotech company. And she said through the program, she came to realize that while she understood clinical drug development and clinical trials, she knew nothing about taking a medication and getting it into market. And if this had been available when she did her PhD, because she was a postdoc at the time, she would have been an entrepreneur by now. From Elena Gropa, who is a postdoc, still a research fellow, she said this is perfect for people who are deeply involved in science and who want to look for opportunities in the business world. A program like this opens your mind and teaches you that there is another world of possibilities outside the lab. And finally, Ben Britton, who has gone on to start a very quickly growing materials company. When he started the program, he was having trouble getting even the tech transfer office to listen to him about how amazing what he was doing was. And partway through, he learned to speak a slightly different language, and then everyone was all over him to help him. So can we play Ben's video, please?
After 300 credit hours in university, I can say this was the best group of professors I've ever had in my life. The support and the information they gave to us, the fact that they took a bunch of scientists and made them talk like human beings, it was remarkable. The very first class in the program was an overarching view of what someone like the Business Development Bank of Canada would expect from a proposal. So you have the models for your market and what sort of value you bring and what kind of team you have and what your budget is and what your financials are. And then all the rest of the courses in the program fill that in. So there's a finance class, there's a sales class, there's how to price, there's how to be strategic in working with partnerships. So from the very first class, it taught you all that you needed to know. If you take a look between the beginning of the program and the end of the program, you would not recognize the same people. All of us have changed a lot.
Well, that is one of my favorite testimonials from the I2I program. And so if you're interested in learning more, we have the contact information
I don't know why it wouldn't let me talk through that.
And I chose to not talk too much about the funding raised for the pure, because it has happened, but I want to make sure that we also emphasize that about a third of the students who've gone through do become scientific entrepreneurs in the venture sense, but everyone becomes an entrepreneur in the mindset sense. And so another third go on to be rockstar scientists, other ones go on to be those ecosystem champions, and that leads to more thriving holistic experience. And I'll turn it over to Jane.
Okay, thanks. Hi, everyone. And I just want to, I'm so delighted to be here today. Thank you for giving me this chance to talk a little bit about what we're doing at District 3 Innovation Hub in Montreal, Canada. I mean, just a quick comment. I've had the occasion to work with the folks at SFU and have been delighted to be part of this, or to listen into some of the sessions today. And I get the opportunity to work with Sarah and Alicia, and I think we're doing interesting things in Canada in terms of collaborating across the country to help bring together these pockets of innovation around around entrepreneurship. So I love this topic. So I just want to, I'm the director of programming at District 3, the Innovation Hub of Concordia University. So I have a bias. So I work for a place that focuses on startup success. So you see some of our metrics here. All of the work we do around working with individuals is around developing the goal, or the outcome is around startup success. And so we've been around for about 5 years. We started up, we were one of the first incubators or accelerators in the Montreal ecosystem. So we've been doing this a long time. We've worked with over 500 startups. And of course, if we've worked with 500 startups, there's a lot of stuff that happens before they get to the startup stage as well. And one quick comment for you, District 3 is our services, our programs, our services are open for everyone in the Montreal community, not just Concordia students. And that's a really important part about what our mindset is around innovation and entrepreneurship. I'm going to go to the next slide. So at District 3, what we realized is, when I first started, our goals or our objectives were all around startups. So I said, but a big bulk of the work we do is around helping individuals learn about entrepreneurship and innovation. So we took some time, and what we did is we decided that the story about District 3 and what we do at District 3 is really along the founder journey. And we believe that journey effectively has 2 phases for an individual who is looking to move something, an idea from invention to innovation. And this notion of individuals needing to be nurtured was very important. And so a big part of what we do is supporting that notion of a funnel. If you look at the journey, the first part of the funnel is really about what we call, or the blue line, I call it, is the individual journey. And the way why I'm framing this is to give you a context of how we think about the programming that we develop, and to then frame the QCSC, the program I want to talk to you about today. So the individual journey is really about, is the first part of a journey, and it's really about the exploration for an individual. And anyone who is in that phase of their founder journey is really, the outcomes are focused on, as it says, changing the entrepreneurial mindset. So there's no goal that's related to startup in that space, because the individual is not in the right mindset. The second part of the journey, something happens between that blue line and the orange line. We call it intention, where the individual has changed their mind, and now their goal is actually about, they say, I want to be an entrepreneur. And that orange line is a whole different story, because any work they do in that part of the journey is really, the outcomes are focused on the success of the company. And so any kind of individual learning is more in the service of the company, not in the service of the individual and just that knowledge acquisition. So you see and when they come to this point in the road, there's really like almost like a roundabout, and it's like Sarah was talking about these things. These individuals can either decide they want to go into academia, stay in academia, they can go into industry, or they can go into the entrepreneurship path. From our point of view, we're not evangelists for entrepreneurship, but we are evangelists for is knowing enough to be able to make an informed decision before jumping into entrepreneurship. Our assumption is when someone moves into the entrepreneur, then when they've had the intention that they'd like to be an entrepreneur, that they want to run a business, they need different kinds of program than if they're in the exploration phase. We develop our programming specifically around the different needs that the individual will have along the journey. It's this notion of just-in-time, minimum viable, just-in-time, right-sized programming. It's the notion of we want to give the right kind of love at the right time to an individual, because overflowing love is wasted love. And so when we, and the idea is that anyone who is involved in the programming, I think Sarah mentioned that the worry was originally that, that PIs didn't want their researchers to be spending too much time outside of the lab. So this notion of how much is the right level of time commitment. And the idea is from on this continuum, you go from low time commitment to high time commitment. If you are, it's also a journey from knowledge acquisition to what we call skill acquisition. Any kind of skill, experiential learning moment in the blue zone is really in service of the learning journey versus, as opposed to in the startup journey, it's really in service of the company. So the QCSC was developed, so we do programming all along this journey, again, right-sized programming. The QCSC was developed to solve a specific problem at a specific point in time. And effectively, the program was developed effectively for researchers. So the chief scientist of Quebec reached out to us with a goal, which was to increase the ROI from research done across Quebec. He believed we weren't doing a great job of that. And when we did some research, we found that if you compare translational research from Boston and Montreal, which are two cities that have comparable university student populations and comparable dollars invested in R&D, the outcome gap is quite significant. Boston produces 3 times more the number of startups and more than 7 times the economic value. We might hear a little bit about that with our next speaker. We have a relatively strong innovation capacity in Montreal, using the terms that the keynote speaker spoke to. So to increase ROI from research in Quebec, we wondered if we might look at enhancing the notion of entrepreneurial capacity and connect directly to the researchers. Again, not as evangelists for entrepreneurship, but because not everyone should be an entrepreneur, but about changing the mindset. So, and the idea of embedding entrepreneurship in the culture of teaching for researchers. So, let's see, there we go. We designed this program. Well, what is the Quebec Scientific Entrepreneurship Program? So it was designed for all STEM researchers, so wherever they are in Quebec. It was actually it's funded by the FRQ, by the Chief Scientific Officer. The key was we couldn't do it alone. We needed to do it with partners. So these strong ecosystem partners, including like MyTax, Aligo, Arbor Foundation, and Vivo, both about contributing money, but also knowledge and skills. It's a bilingual 13-week online program. The online is important. It's also not for credit. So it's the notion of right-sized love. Not everyone is ready to invest more than about 3 hours a week for a specific period of time. And it's actually designed in 3 phases so that if people need to drop out, they can. It's designed and simple for that. So see. And the other part that's important is we have connecting webinars, because it's not enough to just give the content. The connections are important. So we have regular webinars integrated into it, and connections, what I would call handshakes, into the community for those who want to continue afterwards. So what are the results on this program? A year later, it's really interesting. The reach is quite astounding with this program. So we've actually worked with 300 plus graduate students. They've been trained. It's interesting, we're reaching PhDs, postdocs, but we're also, as Sarah was talking about, we're reaching PIs and professors. Other interesting thing, more than 40% of the participants are women. So the composition of the group is really interesting. And we're getting reach, and we're connecting with over 3,000 individuals in events, networking events as well. So you can see the conversion ratio. Not everyone is that interested, but the reach has been really interesting. But the really cool outcome is in terms of companies. From this programming, there are 10 new companies that have been created, and there are more than 10 that have been accelerated along. So, you know, as Jim said, we want to light more candles, well, light more matches. Well, this program is doing that. And it's really doing it through this notion of just-in-time, right-sized service. So if you think about that continuum, you think that it might be a program that would be before the eye-to-eye program that Sarah was talking about at SFU. Quickly, some of the individual impact. So there are people who are staying on the academic path. So what Sarah called the scientific entrepreneurs, and or entrepreneurial scientists, I can't remember which. But Aisha is a PhD student from McGill, and she's still in the middle of her studies, and she's back in the lab. So it's about a new way of thinking for her, removed from what she knows before, a new view of the world. We have Kashif, he's graduated, he's finished his PhD, he's a full-time entrepreneur now, and he's launched a company that deals with heart health called Plaque. And he's talking about, his main comment is about his reach, or that connection to the market, which is really the important piece. And then finally, another example, Tony is a scientist, is a cancer researcher, and he hasn't decided what he wants to do yet. He's actually playing around with either becoming an entrepreneur, finding an idea that actually has traction, or working with, or going and joining another team. But again, he's changed the way he's thinking. He has new tools and new abilities. I think the one important thing that we want to say about the QCSE is it's really, we're trying to teach entrepreneurs or scientists to change the way they think about what they're doing, and in order to improve or increase the translational research. And the patents are interesting, but there's something that comes before that. So that's the story of the QCSE. Look forward to answering any questions later on.
I think the really critical step for trying to get more engagement is to have this awareness. Most of the people that go to university quite often have either a disciplinary and or vocational perspective in what they're doing, and it doesn't really occur to them that they might consider an entrepreneurial path. And so certainly my experience has been what I call the realm of the possible. Mm-hmm. Frankly, though, from a pedagogical standpoint, innovation entrepreneurship programming enhances their learning experience as well. So it really is a very effective way of engaging students to make the link to the world around them, to try to solve problems, identify problems, start thinking about the resources you need to mobilize. But it very much helps tie them to tie what they're learning to that world.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Gabriela Apiu. I'm the Director for Strategic Alliances at Mass General Research Institute and Harvard professor. And I would like to start by thanking my two colleagues, Drs. Main and Lubeck, for giving me this great opportunity to talk to you today about the Longfellow model. This is a project we developed and launched at Mass General Research Institute 5 years ago, with the overarching goal of creating a new culture of innovation through collaboration. And I think we bring a slightly different perspective, because we are a research enterprise, hospital-based, so with treating patients, teaching clinicians, and doing research. So I will come back to this collaboration meaning here. And I would like to start. Okay, so I would like to start with a quote from the Chart Letter in 1811, when our hospital, Mass General Hospital, was founded. And you see there, this is our common mission: when in distress, every man becomes our neighbor. And it has been the same common mission since. And we have been created as a general hospital. And you have on the left the Bullfinch building, the very first one, where we treated patients, and a picture on the right side of today's campus, with a large hospital, still a general hospital, but over 1,000 bed inpatient and we consistently ranked among the top hospitals in the United States. What I think is very important for our discussion and for our panel today is to say that research has been always an intrinsic and essential component of treating patients at Mass General in fulfilling this mission we have had. So we can say 100 plus years of medical innovation. This is very much us and our research community today. Just in few numbers to give you the context, we are the largest hospital-based research institute in the United States, with 2,000 principal investigators, leading research labs with over 4,000 scientists and research staff, 1,500 postdoctoral fellows, and almost 1,000 graduate students. The message I would like to convey here: we are the largest hospital of Harvard, teaching hospital of Harvard Medical School, and teaching is very close to our mission as treating patients and doing research. So we benefit, of course, here in Boston of a great ecosystem, biotech ecosystem, and you see it here in numbers. On the left side, you have a picture from the early 70s. This is the Kendall Square. You see the three companies there, and on the right side, these are the numbers from last year, but you see how many biopharma companies established their headquarters or research labs here, our colleges and universities and medical centers. Again, Mass General Research Institute is a medical center. It's a different approach as compared to universities. Both are, of course, absolutely needed to make it to our patients. So what about the Longfellow model? And I will come back to this picture. If you see this in a nutshell, creating a new culture of innovation through collaboration, we really think, if you look to academia, and here our hospital, Mass General, on the right, we would like to do a better job to bridge and to reach out to our peers in industry, who are, many of them are in Kendall Square. They are not on here. We are an international, of course, research institute, but I think this was the very first idea. And why it came is because a very, very important observation we made several years ago, to say, the vast majority of our discoveries, so of our inventions, does not translate into new diagnostics or treatments for patients in need. And of course, for a hospital taking care of patients, this is something we want to improve. And as you all know, there is a broader, of course, context to that. And we all know that today, of course, unprecedentedly advanced, but very tremendously complex science. We are dealing with this high expectation, both for patients and of our society. The result is clear. So this translation of our inventions into new and affordable, of course, healthcare solutions became a very complex equation to solve. So we need to move away from this all under own roof. So it's too complex, too difficult. We face so important historical crises. We are right in one of them now, and there are others to come. So we have to find another way to build this bridge. And of course, in addition, all these skyrocketing costs from our colleagues from industry, research and development, with a decreasing productivity, this all brought us to say there is a call for an urgent, of course, a shift. And we think, as a team at Mass General, and something that fits very well our faculty and our clinician, we thought about a new type of collaboration. And this is all about the Longfellow model, how to practice and how to teach a new way of collaborating. And, collaborating means two things. So it means collaboration internally between our scientists at Mass General, but it means also collaboration externally with other academic institutions and also with industry. And for us, industry is not exclusively how to create a startup and having our scientists becoming entrepreneurs and creating these startup companies, but it's very much large pharma, biotech, yes, venture partners to create startups, whatever it takes, so that we make sure we get it to our patients and we help our patients and we make it affordable. So I think this was the spirit of the model. So what you have here is how we built this new type of collaboration. And again, when we think new type of collaboration, this has two important aspects. One is the structure. So what we do here, we start when we work with our researchers across the institution. These are 30 different centers and institutes performing research at Mass General. We say we need to start by defining the problem we try to solve or the clinical need and the knowledge gap. And then align science, resources, people, places to towards this common mission, toward finding a beneficial and affordable solution to a very important and well-defined problem. So this is the structural type of collaboration we are aiming for. And in partnership with industry, what we are aiming to is a type of collaboration that allows us together as partners to work long enough. So we look for long-term collaborations with multiple labs involved. So this is not a classic sponsor research agreement we are familiar with. We want to combine assets from the partners, and we want to govern and to manage this type of collaboration jointly. So this is the foundation, and this is the slide where I will tell you how we did it and a little bit where we stand today. So 5 years into this initiative at Mass General. On the left side, you see one of there are two components here, the thematic program. So this is the practice of this new type of collaboration. So what we did at Mass General, we have been working with many investigators and built teams. We were agnostic about the stage of the research. We were agnostic about, how many patents have been filed, or if our colleagues were working on drugs or devices or diagnostics. We look to all stages and all type of research ongoing at Mass General, meaning, fundamental, translational, of course, patient care and access to samples, all what we had available here, but always looking to biology, technology, and medicine, bring this expertise together around important problems and bring several labs together. And we have people, senior, junior, MDs, PhDs. The point was, can we bring all what we have here available to put a solution together and to plan our research towards a solution? So these are the 7 programs. I won't go through, of course, today. We built 215 investigators. We are working very closely with them. It took 5 years. We have had over 40 very substantial discussions with different commercial partners, large pharma, biotech companies, venture firms, looking through these programs, informing these programs. We just executed one of these new type of collaborations with industry for the cardiometabolics program. We are in advanced discussion for 3 others. I'm telling you this to say, it takes time. It takes time to build these teams. It takes time to understand the research. It takes time to articulate cohesive strategic plans. And of course, while doing this, we developed also a teaching and education component. This is the teaching of this new model of collaboration, which is an integral part of our Longfellow model. So this is for faculty. We have other initiatives for fellows, but for sake of time today, I decided to focus on the faculty teaching. This is a course and project competition, and it is a cultural training program. It's not so much about the content, it's about teaching our faculty why important to collaborate, academia and industry, what is the language to really get into a productive and relevant dialogue there, and what it really takes through very, very realistic, I would say, and interesting stories. So, and today, if I look to this training program, we launched last year. So it took several years to build and to design this program. I co-direct with Dr. Robert Tepper from Third Rock Ventures. So we brought roughly 40 teaching faculty on board. And so half from industry, half from academia. We teach these classes, we mentor this project competition. We train assistants today, over 30 faculty, all seniority levels, MD, PhD from Mass General. So these are the two big components, practicing this new type of collaboration, new type of model, and also teaching it. And very important, I think, the team. So this has always been a team approach, and what is important here is what I think is also unique is that we are based in the research institute. So we are faculty. Two of my team members, Carla and Andrew, are both appointed at Harvard Medical School. So we are scientists. So, and we integrate science. So we work with our scientists. So we are in the office of the scientific director at Mass General, and we are working and bring together different group of people. And these are our key relations. First, our scientists, otherwise there's no science. So nothing will happen, of course. This is the essence. The hospital leadership, both the clinical part and the research part. Without this great support we have had strategically and operationally, we would have never been able to bring it to where we stand today. Very close relation with our technology transfer office, the Mass General Brigham Innovation Office. So my colleague Pat Fortune, his name is there. He comes from industry, and we work together. So we oversaw this initiative together, even if I'm in the research side. But Pat has been on board all along, and he is informing all the business development and commercialization piece. Of course, we have several advisors from industry, from the ecosystem here in Boston, extremely committed to this initiative, hands-on. They have worked with us very closely to develop this program, and of course our industry partners and many others. So it's really a team approach. We create sort of a new territory where this collaboration hopefully can happen, and this is what we aim for. I have two testimonials to close my talk. One comes from Nir Hakohan. He is one of the lead investigators in the immuno-oncology program, now in very advanced discussion for a very large collaboration also. So I think I highlighted there what I think is key. So I didn't want to cut his quote there, but just to say how important was first to bring the cancer immunologists together. So how this model made this happen, how made happen all these discussions, bringing everyone at the table and thinking, being focused on solving a problem, finding the right partner, keep everything moving, and all this interaction. So I think it's so important, culturally speaking, that we understand we cannot do it by ourselves. We need to make sure all expertise is on board and push towards a commercialization, because this is what brings it to our patients. And the last two come from two alumni from our training program last year, Anna Mandinova, who's an MD, and Sun Johnson, an MD PhD. So you see how this came out. So the life-changing quote there, I think is my favorite. Maybe it's too general, but I think our colleagues, faculty who took the course, were amazed how eye-opening this was. and the network now they have to go also out to reach out to their peers in industry, and all they learned, and it was a similar setup with 3 hours per week, and this goes for a semester. So I think these are some key testimonials we were able to put together, and I would close by thank you and look forward to interacting with you, whether today or later on after this conference.
Thank you, Gabriella. Richard, are we now live collectively? We are now?
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are? Perfect.
Yep.
So thank you, Sarah, Jane, and Gabriella. We're running out of time, so we're on the Zoom elevator, and we're heading down to the ground floor for the closing remarks. And so I'm going to turn to each of you and say, if you could offer one piece of advice to bridge the gap between academic programs to create scientific entrepreneurs and ecosystems, what would that be? Sarah, you go first, please.
Sure. I think I will high level sum it up by saying, be very honest about what you already have, what you want, and why you want it. And then link those through a continuum of programming that will get you in the long game through that. So first participation, then that mindset change, then probably those industry partnerships, then companies. And to realize you need all of those things, or there's a really good chance you're going to get none of those things.
But you're an entrepreneur and you will persevere.
Exactly.
Thank you, Sarah. Jane?
Okay, I love that, Sarah. I'm going to build on what you said, I think, by adding, be clear on what outcomes you are looking for in any program you're building. Be super clear, put numbers on it. There's nothing like this many people that. Is it about mindset shift for individuals? Are you transforming individuals? Is that why you're designing it? Or are you designing it because you want ventures to be created? Because it's not the same thing and they're not the same elements. I can't tell you the number of student teams I see getting money thrown at them. And I'm like, but they don't want to start a startup. They want to use the startup vehicle as a learning vehicle. And so that money should go somewhere else. So that's the starting point. And then the second part is, once you are clear on what you want to accomplish and what you want to build, then look at what's out there and see if you can collaborate with someone who's already doing brilliant work. Don't add to the noise. Actually build on the brilliance of your people around you and take it along further, because we're all working towards the same thing. This is not a competitive sport. This is a collaborative one. We're part of the team.
Well said, Jane. Gabriella?
Yeah, this Jane and Sarah made it easy for me. I would say the team is key. I think what I have learned in my career and since I have been at Mass General, we cannot do it by ourselves. So we always need the best people with us, and we shouldn't be afraid to bring them on board and to make it together.
Thank you. I'll get to have the last word. This is an entrepreneurial endeavor if you're trying to change the ecosystem. So you should reflect on what you tell all the people that come into your programs, to recognize that there will be, missteps and false steps. There's always an element of risk, and so forth. There'll be frustrations. You are involved in culture change. It's very important to be clear about what it is you're trying to accomplish. But the last thing I would say is the good news is there really is no downside. And so I've been involved in this now for 8 years, as part of a 30-year academic career, working to develop innovation, entrepreneurial capacity amongst students, researchers, helps, as I mentioned earlier, link what they're learning, their foundational knowledge, to the world around them, to putting it to useful practice and to making a difference. And it's an awful lot of fun, and it's tremendously rewarding. So good luck, everybody, with all that you do. I'm going to bring the session to a close because I suspect now the elevators or doors are opening, and Alicia's going, okay, Jim, where are they? Because we need to wrap up. So thank you very much, everybody, for participating. It's been an awful lot of fun. And I'd just like to also thank the conference organizers and speakers. I've really gained a tremendous amount out of this, and I've had a lot of fun too. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.